So now we get into, in this video lecture, ethics and ethical decision making. In every single business course you are going to take, pretty much bar none, you are going to talk about ethics. You're going to talk about how ethics is involved in a particular discipline, for instance, ethics in marketing. You might talk about ethics in business law or ethics in accounting. I know that in one of the courses that I teach, ethics is at the end of every single chapter, and we talk about ethics. Ethical decision making is extraordinarily important in all business aspects, but it's particularly important in marketing. You want to make sure that you're treating your customers as ethically as possible because you want repeat business, not retreat business, but repeat business. And we talked about CRM and customer relationship management and those types of things. And the only way you're ever going to accomplish CRM is to ensure that you have ethical decision making and you're acting with the greatest of ethical standards. So again, we're going to get into ethics on this, and I'm going to talk to you about some ethical framework and some ethical terminology, etc. At the end of the video, again, going to be a couple discussion questions. Make sure, this video is going to be in two parts, by the way. At the end of the first part, there'll be discussion questions. At the end of the second part, there'll be discussion questions. Make sure you type them up and bring them to me on either Tuesday or Thursday. With that being said, I just can't wait to see you on Tuesday or Thursday, and let's get to ethics and ethical decision making. So as I said in the video, this chapter is all about ethics and social responsibility. We're going to talk about some ethical framework. We're going to talk about some ethical definitions, etc. So if you think about it, ethics are all about social norms, social control, and how it affects the majority of the people. Social control is any type of behavioral norms or any means to regulate behavioral norms. And we're going to talk about some social control in just a minute. But think about it. Social control could be someone saying, you can't do that, it's wrong. Social control can be in your own brain. Social control can be governed by laws. Social controls can be governed by morals or mores or folkways or even cultural type of norms. So any means used to maintain behavioral norms is social control, and behavioral norms are really standards that people set down either through culture, through laws, or something like that. So the modes of social control really are ethics, laws, and formal and informal groups, amongst others. Ethics are moral principles that guide your actions. Now, a lot of people don't know the difference between morals and ethics, and I'm going to explain that to you. And the book doesn't do a great job of explaining that, but I'm going to explain that to you now. Morals are how you believe. It's how you're brought up. It's how you believe. It's what is ingrained in your culture. It's how your parents have reared you, etc. So really, morals is how you think and how you believe. Ethics is how you act. So morals is how you believe, ethics being how you act. You can believe or know something is right and wrong and do the wrong thing because it benefits you. So that's ethical responsibility. Ethics has nothing really to do with about what you believe in. It's how you act. Laws, obviously, we know that laws are punishable. In other words, if you act against the law or if you act in a wrong way, and there is a law for it, it is punishable. And then finally, there's formal and informal groups. Formal groups might be how I conduct a class. No cheating on exams, etc. Informal groups might be your peer groups saying, hey, listen, you know what? Don't do that. It's just not the right thing to do. You can also self-regulate, and that's acting within your own means, saying it's wrong. I can't do that. I know it's wrong. I don't want to hurt somebody else. Another one that, at least in today's day and age, is a strong social control is the media or the press. You do something, even if it's not against the law, you can get absolutely crucified in the press. And it might damage your name. It might damage your reputation. It also might prevent you from getting another job. It might get you fired, etc. So if you do something that might not be against the law, but doesn't benefit the majority of people or actually hurt somebody, then the media just absolutely crucifies you. And then also there's active civil societies, there's lobbyists, there's lobby groups, and all those types of things that are part of social control, or what we do in social control. So ethics, again, is behavior. Morals is the way we act. Generally speaking, people act ethically based on their moral fiber. That doesn't necessarily ring true for everybody. I've said this all of my life. We, as educated people, you as an educated person, know right from wrong. How you act on that right from wrong is where the rubber meets the road. That is your ethical principles. That is your ethical behavior, and that is your ethical decision making. In some point in time, and probably fairly in the near future, you are going to be challenged. You are going to be challenged ethically. It might not be against the law, but you know it's not the right thing to do. And in that case, we'd like to have you act ethically, even though it's not against the law. So oftentimes morals consist of written rules. Sometimes they don't. So let's get into some ethical theories. The first ethical theory we're going to talk about is deontological ethical theory, that states that people should stay in their own lanes, I guess is the way, without using too much of a cliche. Stay in their own lanes. In other words, the ethical obligations and duties should be performed within your own duties. And if it's something that is above you, you should go and get help. For instance, if you find something is going wrong with a company, and it's not in your department, you should go to that department, or you should go to a higher level and talk about that. So basically, you should stay in your own lanes when it comes to moral decisions. If in fact you don't have the authority, or you don't have the knowledge or the skill set to deal with that ethical decision, then you should get help, or you should go and you should get more people involved with that. Now, the utilitarian ethical theory, there's really two theories. There's act utilitarianism and there's rule utilitarianism. This says that ethical decisions should be based on majority, or the decision that benefits the majority. Let me see some examples. Let's take rule utilitarianism first. Let's take St. John Fisher. That's a good one. We'll take St. John Fisher. St. John Fisher only lets in about 60% of their applicants. So that means 40% of the people that apply don't get in, but 60% do. As a rule, they only accept about 60% of their applicants. Even though some people don't benefit because of that. That's the 40% that don't get in. The 60% that does get in benefits more strongly because there's lower class size, there's a better teaching, etc. So because of that rule, the majority is benefited. So that is a rule utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism would be, let me think of an example of that. Act utilitarianism would be Big Pharma. All right, they come out with a drug, and just about every drug out there has side effects, but the side effects are few, far between, and only a few people will be affected by these side effects. So yes, they are going to hurt some people, and those are the side effects, but the majority is going to benefit because of the drug and the good the drug does. So that's utilitarianism, act utilitarianism, and rule utilitarianism. Rules that benefit the majority and acts that benefit the majority. Causes ethical theory says that what's happened in the past, we look at what's happened in the past, That decision that we made, did it benefit most people? Did it benefit a few people, etc.? So we take a look at comparing an ethical decision that is facing us now to what has happened in the past. Moral relativism is when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So what you're going to do is you're going to act ethically according to that particular culture or according to that particular time and place. Now, moral relativism is not good in some foreign countries. Let me give you an example. In some foreign countries, especially over in Africa, like Eritrea, Ethiopia, and some of those others, bribing officials is a way of doing business. It is like an act or a rite of passage in that country. We cannot bribe officials. That is against the law, and we can get extradited if we do. So when in Rome, do as the Romans do is not always good in some foreign countries, because if bribery is a way of life there, it's not a way of life here. And even if we're there, we could still get punished for bribing officials over there. So you can't really say that moral relativism is a way of doing business across the globe. We as Americans need to be very, very, very careful about that. And then finally, virtue ethics is just that. It's acting virtuous. It's acting to protect other people. And virtue ethics is really almost a character trait. So ethics and actions in ethical business, we know in most cases, especially when you become a manager or you get into management, actions that you take may vary. Your actions are going to hurt or help many, many people. So the actions depend upon the ethical theory that you're going to take. But generally speaking, and I know I've said this before, and I know I'm repeating myself, but we know right from wrong. And even if those actions aren't punishable, even if in fact you're not going to get caught, we know right from wrong, and we should act in an ethical manner. And that's based on our morals, and that's based on our judgment. So morality and business ethics. Ethic values are situation and time oriented. What we try to do is develop personal morals and move through those personal morals and act ethically on that. Wow, I can't talk this morning. And then finally, a third approach would be to personalize ethics and emphasize the development of moral character. So ethical development levels, and I really subscribe to these theories. I think these are really good. You've got pre-conventional morality, you got conventional morality, and you got post-conventional morality. Pre-conventional morality means that you are going to think and you are going to act ethically for fear of being punished. Conventional morality says you are going to think and act ethically because you'll be afraid of what your friends or what society might think of you. Post-conventional morality means you're going to think and act ethically because it's the right thing to do. What we try to do is we try to strive for that post-conventional morality. Now, let me give you some examples. Pre-conventional morality really guides children. The reason that it guides children is many children before the ages of 12 really don't know the difference between right and wrong. Oftentimes, they make decisions to benefit them. So punishment is a way of guiding their behavior. So children, especially children under 12, will be guided by a punishment. I have a daughter 10 years old. She's starting to get into the conventional morality, but she's still in pre-conventional morality, and she does act based on being punished by her teachers, being punished by me, or something else like that. Conventional morality oftentimes is, and no offense to you guys, are where we find Z's and millennials. You guys act morally and ethically based on peer groups and what your peer groups will think of you and what society will think of you. You guys are very, very involved in your peer groups, and what your peer groups think of you is very important to you at your stage of life. If you think about it, you know, your friends are very important, and you want to make friends, you want to have friends, so you will act ethically and morally based on those friends and based on society. Post-conventional morality would be as you mature and as you get older, you say, I don't care what people think of me, and I'm not worried about being punished. I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. I always use this example. Suppose you're in Wegmans and you put a 12-pack of beer or soda on the bottom of your cart, and you go through the line and no one sees that 12-pack of soda. You get out to your car, you open up the trunk, you unload your car, and there it is, and you know you haven't paid for it, right? Pre-conventional morality would mean you would take that, you would run back into the store, and you would pay for it because you're afraid you're going to get arrested. Conventional morality says, I wonder if anybody saw me do that. If anybody saw me do that, I'd kind of be embarrassed stealing a 12-pack of beer or soda from Wegmans. So you go back in and you pay for it because you're afraid someone saw you do it and what they thought of it. Post-conventional morality says, you know what? Danny Wegman will always have more money than I will ever see. However, I didn't pay for that, and it's not mine. I should go in and pay for it. So you go in and pay for it. That is the difference between pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional morality. To me, in all of the ethical theories, that to me is the most important. And that's why as a manager, as you progress as a manager, and you're going to be a manager someday, but as you progress as a manager, you want to strive towards that post-conventional morality because it's just the right thing to do. So ethical decision-making is really the extent of ethical problems within the organizations. Top management actions on ethics, their code of ethics is absolutely imperative. The other thing is, if you walk the walk, if top management acts ethically, generally speaking, the organization will follow because there are social consciences and there are social consequences for that. So top management should have a code of ethics. They should take a look at probability of harmful outcomes, and they should act based on the probability of harmful outcomes and the number of people that are affected. In every decision, there are winners and there are losers. Acting ethically means that we are going to try to get as many winners as we possibly can. So a code of ethics is really the ethical guidelines that are set about in an organization, and it helps employees make better decisions. It helps them guide. But really one of the things that ethical guidelines and the code of ethics teaches us is that if you're unsure, get help. Don't make a decision in a vacuum. Go and find out. Get help. And make sure that everybody knows the decisions that you're making. Don't try to hide something. The most ethical companies have a code of ethics, and that code of ethics starts with go get help. If you see something, if you hear something, report it, go get help. And really, that is all of the training that I've always had in ethics and all of the training that I've given my employees as I was a general manager, district manager, and all those other things is don't ever do something in a vacuum. Don't ever do something and make a decision by yourself if you are not sure whether it's right or wrong. Always go get help. So there are ethics in other countries, and I talked about this when I talked about moral relativism, and that's the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. If we bribe an official in another country, we can be liable for it, and we can be extradited, and we can be punished. And that happens oftentimes. And here's where the rubber meets the road. In certain cases, other countries don't have the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and they can bribe an official. So let me give you an example. And here's where it gets really gray. And here's where, even though the benefit, the decision would benefit the majority, it's still not done. Let's say you're going off the coast of Eritrea, and off the coast of Eritrea is very oil rich, and you want to build an oil well there to bring oil back to the United States. And as you know, we use a lot of oil. Russia's looking for the same oil. And they are, I wouldn't say Russia. I'm not going to say Russia because they're different. They're starting to merge, and they've got different things. So forget Russia. Another country, it doesn't matter who it is. Another country is looking to drill the same well at the same place because they want that oil too. This other country, they don't have a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. We do. Eritrea says, in order for you to build this, you're going to have to bribe us officials. If we do, we build the oil well, and it benefits all of America because we get the oil. But we have the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. They don't, this other country. They don't have a problem bribing Eritrean officials in getting that oil. We are not allowed to do that. So even though the majority of us would benefit by that oil, we wouldn't get that business. The other country would. And therein is where the rubber meets the road with the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and ethics and responsibilities. So even if it's utilitarianism, the majority benefits. If it's against the law, it's against the law. All right, so that's going to conclude this particular video. Here's your discussion questions. Please type up these discussion questions and bring them to me either Monday or Tuesday or Thursday, depending on your class time. And until then, I'm going to be right back with part 2 of ethics and social responsibility.